guys. I just wanted to do this episode on one of the local serial killers where I live. And now you might all know him as BTK. But I'm going to go into a little bit of backstory about him, his life, his murders, and I want you guys to come along with me. Dennis Lynn Rader, that's his name, was born on March 9th, 1945, also known as BTK, an abbreviation he gave himself for bind, torture, kill. He's an American serial killer who murdered at least 10 people in Wichita and Park City, Kansas between 1974 and 1991. Although Rader occasionally killed or attempted to kill men and children, he typically targeted women. His victims were bound, sometimes with objects from their homes, and either suffocated with a plastic bag or manually strangulated with ligature. In addition, Rader stole keepsakes from his female victims, including underwear, licenses, personal items. He often sent taunting letters to police and media outlets describing the details of his crimes. After a 13-year hiatus, Rader resumed sending letters in 2004, leading to his 2005 arrest and subsequent guilty plea. He is currently serving 10 consecutive life sentences at the El Dorado Correctional Facility in El Dorado, Kansas. The eldest of four sons, Dennis Lynn Rader, was born in Pittsburgh, Kansas on March 9th, 1945, to a bookkeeper, Dorothea May Rader, and in which she died in 2007, and Kansas gas service worker William Elvin Rader. He died in 1996. Rader grew up in Wichita. Both parents worked long hours and paid little attention to their children at home. Later, Rader described feeling ignored by his mother in particular and resenting her for it. That's the typical serial killer. They always have some type of mother issue or mother fetish. From a young age, Rader harbored sadistic sexual fantasies about torturing trapped and helpless women. He also exhibited zoo sadism by torturing, killing, and hanging small animals. Rader acted out of sexual fetishes and voyeurism, autoerotic asphyxiation, and cross-dressing. He often spied on female neighbors while dressed in women's clothing, including women's underwear that he had stolen, and masturbated with ropes and other bindings around his arms and his neck. He is truly a sick individual. Later years, during his cooling off periods between murders, Rader would take pictures of himself wearing women's clothes and a female mask while bound. Later, he admitted that he was pretending to be one of his victims as part of a sexual fantasy. However, Rader kept his sexual proclivities well hidden, and he was widely regarded in his community as a normal, polite, and well-mannered person. After graduating from Wichita Heights High School, Rader attended Kansas Wesleyan University. He received only mediocre grades and dropped out after 1 year. Rader served in the United States Air Force from 1966 to 1970. On discharge, he moved to Park City, a suburb of Wichita, where he worked in the meat department at IGA Supermarket, which is now Leakers, which was also where his mother was employed as a bookkeeper. Rader married Paula Dietz on May 22nd, 1971. They had two children, Carrie and Brian. He attended Butler County Community College in El Dorado, earning an associate degree in electronics engineering, a bachelor of science degree, majoring in administration of justice. Naturally, he's a serial killer, so he's going to want a justice degree. Initially, Rader worked as an assembler for the Coleman Company, an outdoor supply company, before working at the Wichita-based ADT Security Services from 1974 to 1988, where he installed security alarms as part of his job, which he did. Many cases for homeowners concerned about the BTK killings. Rader was a census field operations supervisor for the Wichita area in 1989 before the 1990 federal census. In May 1991, Rader became a dog catcher and compliance officer in Park City. Now, I've heard stories that he was kind of a prick when it came to compliance. He would measure exactly how high your grass was with a tape measure, and if it was over an inch, he would write you a ticket for high grass. In this position, neighbors recalled him as being sometimes overzealous and extremely strict. See, that's as well as taking special pleasure in bullying and harassing single women. One neighbor complained that Rader killed her dog for no reason. Rader was a member of Christ Lutheran Church in Wichita, and at one point he was elected president of the church council. He was also a Cub Scout leader. Back in the 2000s, the public's memories of the murders had begun to fade. Local author Robert Beatty began writing a book about the killings after being shocked that so many young people he spoke to had never heard of them. Hungry for attention, Rader reemerged as BTK in 2004 after learning that the book was being written. On July 26, 2005, after Rader's arrest, his wife was granted an emergency divorce, waiving the normal 60-day waiting period. In an interview with ABC News in 2019, Rader's daughter, Carrie, said she still writes to her father and has now forgiven him, but she still struggles with and to reconcile with him with the BTK killer, stating that her childhood was normal, describing her formative years as a normal American family. Now, the confirmed murders on January 15th, 1974, 4 members of the Otero family were murdered in Wichita, Kansas. The victims were Joseph Otero Sr., he was 38, Julia Marie Otero, who went by Julie, she was 33, Joseph Otero Jr., or Joey Otero, he was 9, and Josephine Josie Otero was 11. Their bodies were discovered by the family's 3 older children who had been at school at the time of the killings. After his arrest, Rader confessed to killing the Otero family. Rader claimed that he first targeted the family 2 months prior to their murders, when he spotted Julie leaving to take her children to school and followed them. On the morning of January 15th, Rader cut the phone lines, and entered the Otero residence when Joey opened the back door for the family dog. Rader told the Otero family that he was a wanted man in California before he ordered them to lie on the living room floor at gunpoint. Then he led the family into the bedroom and bound them with rope he had prepared. Joseph and Joey were on the floor while Julie and Josie were on the bed. The wrists and feet of Joseph and Julie were restrained. Joseph's head was covered with a plastic bag, which Rader then secured with ropes. But after that, he chewed a hole in the bag. Another bag was tightened over his head, causing Joseph to slowly suffocate to death. So, Joseph tried to save his own life by chewing a hole in the bag. Rader attempted to strangle Julie, and according to Rader, Mrs. Otero woke back up and was pretty upset with what was going on. And she asked me to save her son, so I took the bag off. She screamed, "You killed my boy. You killed my boy." After the initial realization and shock, she communicated, "God have mercy on your soul," before I put her down permanently. Rader strangled her to death with rope. With both parents dead, Rader then also placed another plastic bag with 2 t-shirts and an additional bag over it on Joey's head and watched as he thrashed about while being suffocated. That's a sick individual to do that to a child. Afterward, Rader led Josie down in the basement where he hung her with a noose from a pipe. Later, police found Rader's semen near her partially clothed body. Rader then eventually wrote a letter that he'd stashed inside an engineering book in the Wichita Public Library in 1974, describing in detail the killing of the Otero family. On April 4th, 1974, Rader broke into the Wichita home of 21-year-old Catherine Bright. Through a screen door but was taken aback to discover her 19-year-old brother Kevin Bright was also present in the property. He transported Catherine to the bedroom and tied her down after forcing Kevin, who was being held at gunpoint, to restrain his own sister with rope. Rader attempted to strangle Catherine to death before stabbing her 3 times in the back and lower abdomen with a knife. Then he struggled. When she struggled too much, Kevin was also strangled and shot in the head, but he survived by feigning death and later escaping. On March 17, 1977, 28-year-old Shirley Ruth Relford was found dead in her home in Wichita. Rader was pursuing Relford and located her by following her 5-year-old son to her home. Relford, who had not been feeling well and had sent the boy out for soup, Rader entered their residence and pulled a handgun out on her from under his jacket, frightening the family. After tying up the 3 children and locking them in the bathroom, Rader took Relford into the back bedroom. Rader had Shirley restrained while she vomited before tying her legs to the bedpost. Then he strangled her with a rope after placing a plastic bag over her head while her children screamed and banged on the hallway, similar to the Otero murders. Rader intended to murder Relford's children, although they were ultimately able to escape before he could do so. That's victim number 3. On March 17, 1977, December 8th, 1977, when Rader noticed 25-year-old Nancy Jo Fox going into her home in Wichita. He marked her as a potential victim and began stalking her. Rader knocked on her door. When nobody answered, he cut the phone lines, began breaking in to wait for Fox in her kitchen. Fox's murder will be described by Rader as what I call a perfect hit. Although she gave him a lot of verbal static, she cooperated and she didn't fight me. I had complete control of her. That's why it was one of those enjoyable kills, as I call them. Rader killed Fox by strangling her with his belt on her bed. Before she died, Rader told her he was responsible for the prior Otero murders. The following day, Rader called the police from a payphone booth, telling them they would find Fox's body at her home. On February 10, 1978, Rader sent another letter to television station KAKE, Cake Channel 10, in Wichita, claiming responsibility for the murders of the Oteros, Bright, Vianne, Relford, and Fox. Yes, her name was Shirley Vianne Relford. He suggested that many possible names for himself, including BTK. He demanded media attention in the second letter, saying, "How many do I have to kill before I get a name in the paper or some national attention?" A poem was enclosed titled, "Oh, Death to Nancy," a parody of the lyrics to the American folk song, "Oh, Death." In the letter, he claimed to be driven to kill by Factor X, which he characterized as a supernatural element that also motivated Jack the Ripper and the Son of Sam and the Hillside Stranglers. He also asked for the police to send him a hidden message in response, and with the knowledge that Rader watched Cake, police decided to flash a subliminal message during one of the station's evening newscasts. For a split second, the message stated, "Now call the chief," and featured a drawing of an upside-down pair of glasses, which were found at Nancy Jo Fox's crime scene. They hoped the message would influence Rader to turn himself in, but it was unsuccessful. During this time, Rader also intended to have killed others, such as 63-year-old Anna Williams, who died in 1979. Who in 1979 escaped death by returning home much later than expected. Rader explained during his confession that he became obsessed with Williams and was absolutely livid when she evaded him. He spent hours waiting at her home, but became impatient and left when she did not return home from visiting friends. Maureen Hedge was found on May 5th, 1985. This is his neighbor at East 53rd Street North, between North Webb and North Greenwich Road in Wichita. Rader killed her on April 27th and took her dead body to Christ Lutheran Church, where he was the president of the church council. There he photographed her body in various bondage positions. Rader had previously stored black plastic sheets and other materials at the church in preparation for the murder, and then later dumped the body in a remote ditch. Two women Rader stalked in the 1980s and one whom he stalked in the mid-90s filed restraining orders against him. One of them also changed her address to avoid him. On September 16, 1986, Rader strangled 28-year-old Vicki Lynn Wagerly to death with a nylon stocking at her home in Wichita. Rader entered the residence by pretending to be a telephone repairman. He rearranged her clothes post-mortem and took a number of photographs of her nude body. Rader's final victim was 62-year-old Doris Earlene Davis, was found dead on February 1st, 1991 at West 117th Street North and North Meridian Street in Park City, Kansas. Rader had killed her on January 19th by strangling her with pantyhose. He is really a sick and twisted individual, guys. He is also suspected on more murders, and there's some cold cases out there that he's suspected of as well. There's investigations going on in Nebraska, Missouri, Colorado, Oklahoma, and Texas. And the FBI and local jurisdictions were at Rader's home, and Rader's former duty stations checked into unsolved cases during Rader's time in the service. After exhaustive investigations, none of these agencies discovered any further murders attributable to Rader, supporting early suspicions that Rader would have taken responsibility for any additional murders that he had committed. As a result, the 10 known murders were at that point believed to be the only murders for which Rader was actually responsible. Although Wichita police are fairly certain that Rader stalked and researched a number of other potential victims. This includes one person who was saved when Rader called off his planned attack upon his arrival near the target's home due to the presence of construction and road crews nearby. Rader stated in his police interview that there are a lot of lucky people, meaning that they had thought about, developed various levels of murder plans for other victims. I just wanted to get this out there on exactly how sick of an individual Dennis Rader was. And it gives us all a break from Idaho 4. Like always, like, subscribe, and comment to my channel. Hit the bell notification for any new uploads. And please hit the share button. And you guys have a good Monday or good Tuesday evening. This is Robert from True Crime Cult out.